So IGN made this video as to why they think Starfield makes sense on console at 30 FPS. This was actually done by one of their technical reviewers. I cannot remember the name of this individual, but I know that in the past they have done some really solid work. Digital Foundry also did their review on this particular issue, but I'll play a little snippet of the conclusion of what the review comes about, but I recommend that you actually go back and watch it. Just go on IGN and you'll see it as one of their most recent videos as of today that I'm making this particular commentary on it.
and maybe even higher and lower, but based on that, plus the aspects I've covered already in previous titles on PC and Series X in this very video, I would imagine we have a title that can again, in places, place heavy demands on the hardware across the full spectrum, meaning the core game the team wants to create would be heavily sacrificed if they had to reduce core areas of the engine, such as that GI solution, the AI, the animation, the materials, the physics, the weather, the procedural worlds and quests. And none of these will be solved by simply dropping resolution. Modern engines can scale, of course, but within reason. And as this game is both a deferred renderer as a base, its data-driven worlds, interactions and combat, more of these areas cannot simply be dialed back without significant work or sacrifices to that original vision, or both.
So, I think my case has been made, and for the longest time, I think I've been at odds with a lot of folk in the community when this conversation was had. You see, one thing that many people don't necessarily want to come to terms with is that they were, in a sense, soft marketing, or they were basically, taken by the soft marketing schemes of what these console manufacturers put out there. I was in that position. I drove to a whole different state to buy the PlayStation 5. I spent extra money buying the Xbox bundle, the one that comes with Game Pass Ultimate, for like 2 years. Do you know how much that cost? Thankfully, as a content creator, you own a business and you can pretty much, negotiate that into your expenses. But for the other individuals who were in that position, thinking that these consoles were going to go ahead and provide this cutting edge visuals and high frame rates on every video game was pretty much what they were sold. Because at the end of the day, when you look at this particular Starfield presentation and stuff, if I can get past this ad, you're going to realize that there's actually more than meets the eye. In fact, other video games are starting to see these challenges. There was a little, subreddit post that somebody referenced in one of my videos that I did on Final Fantasy and the demo. Somebody left on a comment and said, have you actually, heard about this particular incident where some people's PlayStation 5s are getting too hot when they get to a specific point in the game? Now, to me, that's not unusual. It's hardware, and it's hardware that's basically going to get, challenged after, all is said and done. But when you think about it, this is something that you also see in PC components as well. So these new, consoles are starting to want to delve into that world of high performance gaming. So they're going to also go back and, have to realize that, okay, if we're going to get into the world of high performance gaming, we'll also have to see the challenges. So this post said PS5 too hot. Anyone experiencing this problem? I'm having a lot of fun with the demo. This is for Final Fantasy 16. It actually blew me away just how fluid and fun the combat is. However, I'm at the part of they're supposed to have censored that name because that's a sport. Well, it's in the demo anyways, of the mobile fight, and suddenly got a notification that my PS5 was too hot and that I should turn it off to let it cool. I guess the game is so immersive that even the Phoenix is heating up my PS5. Anyways, is anyone else having this problem, or is it my PS5 malfunctioning? A lot of people said that they were having this issue. Some people said, oh, go ahead and make sure you clean your PS5. But some people said, man, my PS5 gets cleaned and I'm still having the issue. This is not out of the ordinary when a game is asking your CPU and your GPU for more juice so that it can pump out those visuals for you. It almost always happens. So resolution scaling is a very interesting thing. Now, if you watch that video and you watch Digital Foundry's videos, you'll see that resolution scaling is used in Starfield. It's used in Marvel's Spider-Man, the one that everybody cites. And whenever we come back to the conversation, and I always have to plug this in because I feel like it's necessary. And when we talk about games like Gotham Knights and them not being able to scale this game to 60 FPS for a good performance on the consoles, a lot of people are adamant about that reality. But the reality is still something that's there, because whenever your game changes scope, you really have to acknowledge that your scope has probably basically gone past your hardware, and the person is going to need better hardware to be able to go ahead and be able to enjoy the game at higher performance rates at the same time. Gotham Knight is a very detailed world, a lot of different, high texture, high polygon, count structures that are everywhere, even more than the Arkham games. Yes, go back to Digital Foundry's review and you're going to see that this was actually mentioned, that the, texture quality and a lot of the asset quality actually is better than many games out there. And when the director said that this is the reason, a lot of people did not want to listen, nor did they want to hear. In fact, if you go to the comment section of this IGN, video where, they actually did this whole showcase, and when you look at the way people are actually engaging with the comments, some people are still adamant about the entire conversation. They don't necessarily want to go back and say, oh, here's the thing, or, they're saying other games have it, this game can do it, blah, 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 blah. But the reality of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the truth about these new consoles, and this is where we're going to be for the meantime. Unless, of course, the developers of these teams decide that, oh, we're going to do things differently. We're going to go into our game starting from ground up, from scratch, where we make sure that every single, aspect of our game is going to run at high performance, and then they do everything from ground up that way. But once they start to get more ambitious, once they start to want to add new mechanics, once they want to add new features, new different enemy classes or AI, all that stuff is going to be asking for your CPU to process them. If it's going to be asking for your GPU to even do some more work, and you're probably not going to be able to end up with that particular direction unless, of course, you go into using better machinery to power and run things. So I'm looking forward to the way things actually turn out. With this whole Final Fantasy thing, we're already also hearing that there are going to be day one patches, and so on and so forth. But again, these may just be, little things here and there, because if you guys haven't necessarily noticed, the Final Fantasy 16 is going to be getting a day one patch to fix several minor issues. Some of them are performance based. Some of them are basically stability based. But you'll realize that the performance is actually a big deal, and the consoles are already limited. Again, let me go ahead and just kind of put something in perspective. By the time hardware hits the market, it's already outdated, because in its research and development, that took a lot of time in terms of getting all its components and getting all its parts and getting everything into the manufacturer and then shipping and then, all of that stuff. It takes about a 2 to 5 year process. By then, the hardware manufacturers in their research and development labs are coming up with better solutions for the next generation. So by the time the PlayStation 5 console hit in 2020 and the Xbox Series X console hit, they were already 2 years behind what hardware manufacturers were, already had in the bank. I mean, it's evident by the fact that we got the 40 series and they just were phenomenal on the high end. I'm not talking about the 4060 or 4070. Please don't come at me. I'm not touching those GPUs. I'm talking about the 4090s and the 4080s and even AMD 7900 series as well. So those are already in the oven and they eventually got released. I mean, already anybody that has a 4090 already has old hardware. Yes, you have the latest in the market, but in regard to reality and what is actually possible, when the next generation drops, that 4090, hopefully, if AMD and NVIDIA have any sense, they'll make sure that their new generation of hardware is actually much better, which is usually what they're going for. So now you need a new machine to be able to run these games. And the question is, are you going to stick with, a console to get the newer one if you prioritize 60 FPS, that is? Or are you going to maybe change and move to a PC so that you don't have to, deal with these issues that continue to rear their head every given time? Anyways, watch this video, please. The analysis is actually pretty solid. He goes through a comparative analysis of different video games that Bethesda's engine has actually, been able to make the creation engine. And it should give you a very good view as to how things are going. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys taking the time to have this conversation extensively. It's been a lot of fun. And, maybe we'll be seeing more 30 FPS games, like I said. And perhaps maybe some people will finally eventually go and say, okay, well, I guess I maybe have been too hard on a game like Gotham Knights. Perhaps I misjudged, how 60 FPS works overall. And, maybe they'll give it a try. I think it's a solid game. And if 30 FPS had been your, deterrent from playing the game, possibly you realize that maybe playing on PC would be the way to go if you want 60, or maybe eventually saying, you know what, this is what the consoles are. Maybe next time when Microsoft and Sony advertise these things to be, the second coming, we'll probably just take it with a huge, bag of salt. Peace out.